try again. He drew a circle that put me out. A heretic, a radical, just something to clout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. In the 1980s, I was blessed by having the opportunity to meet with a sage. His name was Art Gilbert. He was my parents' generation, fought in World War II, part of the infantry in Europe. I think he's the one who first told me those lines. Recently I learned they're actually from a poem written by Edward Markham, an Oregon poet. So I've told it for years not knowing that it was a poet at that. But Mr. Gilbert was also the one who told me the difference between a combat story and a war story. He told me that combat stories are more common. People love the blood and the gore. The easy enemy, those folk, and the good guys, us folk. But he said war stories are those that come out of violent conflict, unfortunately. But they talk about the humanity of all of us. It's the inclusion, the sameness that all of us, regardless of your religion, ethnicity, color, nationality, we're all the same. He's the one who first told me this story. I know if you go online, you're going to find 7, 8 different versions of it. It merely tells me that it's a good story. Stories rarely have just one source. But I'm going to share the one that Art Gilbert told me. That was in the 1980s, and I'm slightly older now, closer to his age then. I wasn't in 1980. As I recall, it went something like this. It took a while, but the United States finally joined the fight in Europe. The American troops were sent to Europe. One of them was a squad of young men who found themselves in East France, behind what was enemy lines at the moment. And one day they experienced extremely hard enemy fire. And unfortunately, one of them was shot and killed. His comrades knew that they would be unable to take his body out. And they weren't able to do what they wanted to do, so they remembered down a few kilometers there was a rural church and a graveyard next to the church. And so 4 of the comrades, 4 of the soldiers, asked permission to take the man's body to the church and bury it in the graveyard so he would have a proper burial. So they picked up their dead comrade, and the 4 of them carried him those major steps to the church, only to find that they were told they couldn't bury their comrade inside of this graveyard because he didn't belong to the church. But there was an old saintly priest there, and the priest suggested they bury the dead soldier just outside the fence. Having no other option, they did. It was a cold, restless night. And in the morning, orders came that needed to move. But they asked permission, and it was given for them to visit one final time to say goodbye. So they went to the church to say a prayer, to sing a song. But someone had moved the fence. He was no longer outside, but he was inside. So who moved the fence? Some draw fences to keep us out. We're the wrong religion, the wrong race, the wrong nationality. We're just something to clown. But grace and love, and someone had sense enough to move the fence by